get back into this. It's 0.7% gap down today, so it's not really morning, peoples. I wouldn't consider it really too weak of an open. You know, you're just opening up inside yesterday's range. So when you got the big range from yesterday. So yesterday was kind of the gimme. I mean, you only get yesterday was the gimme day because, you know, you had the gap up into the resistance. That's the day, you know, you get one day a week where you really got to load the boat on like profit. You know, yesterday was probably that day, at least in terms of, you know, market-based trades, because the short was shorten the gap fill is pretty much, you know, like a standard. Now you're waking up inside yesterday's range. This will be a little bit more tricky today. You know, we'll have to see it. Does the market pop red to green? And if it does, like, how does it react around yesterday's highs? There's a shot, due to the fact that we're just a little bit extended going in up into this range, there's a shot that the general market itself just chops around today inside yesterday's range, due to the fact that yesterday's range was so big. I mean, there was play after play yesterday popping through. So when you see something like that, what you want to really be doing is focusing on, you know, things that have room to run, or, you know, plays that have like some kind of fresh news out. Good morning, peoples. What's going on? Yeah, don't wanna shoot, baby. Cool. All right, let's take a look at the watch list and then use the other broker. Use the other broker if you got to slam something. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the earnings plays, and then we'll see what else is popping loose. IMVT, this actually got a lot of range so far. Only 72,000 volume though. I'd probably come back on that one. It's already faded back. Alt's got some news out. Altimmune says preclinical studies show potent immunogenicity of COVID in mice. You know, that sounds nice, right? Like, yeah, little mice. Yeah, I would. I'd probably roll with that. You know, I would roll with that. I'd add this to the list with the caveat that it's going to need to kind of pop over this. You've got a trend line right here around like 25-ish. If it starts to cook over 25, I'd be interested. Otherwise, I mean, there's a shot this thing just rolls over. You know, it's been getting turted out nonstop. And a lot of these virus names, like even after they're having good news now, because they've all gone up so much, they're just getting faded off. They're getting sold into because they're just back in downtrends. Like if you look at, you know, INO, right? Like all of these have just been, you know, Merck, NVAX. So there's a shot. Like I'm only interested in alt if we see really some like big volume and this thing really starts to congeal and start to push over. You know, if it starts to push over that 25, and then I'm interested in it. One thing with alt 2 to just kind of be mindful of is that trades a little bit thin. But when it wants to go, it can go. So, you know, like I add this to the gapper list for today, and with the caveat that it's got some work to do. You know, you can even see yesterday, right? Like a lot of the biotech gappers, they faded off all day. So I'm 50-50 on alt, only if it really rips over these two MAs and this trend line. Then I'm more interested in this one. It's got to prove itself, because we've seen a lot of these now. When you're getting a lot of these stocks that are popping due to, you know, coronavirus news, that theme is getting played out a little bit. And so we'll have to just be kind of mindful of that. Hold on, I got to fluff up my coffee real quick. Born in the USA. All right. Okay, so this one's got a caveat. Now, RKT's on the list. I'm only looking at this RKT at this point for a short, especially if it breaks under 30. That was yesterday's high. So when you get a momentum stock, a lot of times they'll test back into the previous day's highs and rip. So it's really that 30 spot where I think you're going to get a release on it. And so it's either a big pop at the open and then, we'll look to fade it off. Or like if they pull the rug, and that can happen really, really quickly, then at that point, we'll want to definitely be, we're definitely going to want to be looking at this thing for potential short. This is probably, this is going to be the top watch for the day. It's got to be, right? Like this thing's, the 9 EMA on this is at 25. So like if you're thinking like, man, it's got a lot of room to fall. We could probably get, we could get 2-3 points out of this thing today if we nail it right. The key is just going to be like we can't step in front of it because it does have a lot of momentum. You're already seeing like that kind of spike in the pre-market's already getting faded off a little bit. But I think this 30 is the key. If we can get this thing starting to marinate right under and break under that 30, man, we're gonna have ourselves a little pizza party. So add this to the list with the big hairy butt on it that it needs to break really under 30 to speed up. So you're either shorting it in the pops and as they roll over make lower highs, or you wait till 30. Gap, this looks like it's an analyst upgrade. Gap stinks to trade. Pass. Smuckers. Jam Smuckers. 84 million share flows. This one actually can move. It just doesn't have a history of trading that well. You can see the overall look on it. If you're looking like anytime you see a stock that's got like some kind of news out, right? So it's like Smucker results beat market expectations. That's nice. But like you're in like side like this big range over here. The best type of earnings plays are always going to be the ones that are clean. They're either moving up or down from some kind of range. I think this one's still kind of inside the range. At that point, we want to just probably leave that alone. Man. Now, LCA is tricky because it's basically a little bit long in the tooth going into this thing. You got resistance right at top. I think if you're like, all these SPACs are picking up today. So I think, we're going to have to play some SPACs regardless. But this one out of them is probably the toughest one to trade. It generally doesn't have the biggest range, but also like it's right under resistance. I think we got easier ones to play. LI. So LI got a couple of Goldman stacks. Starts LI auto, conviction buy. With Shill going yesterday, there's a chance that this one does. Now, this one does trade a little bit herky-jerky. I would actually add that to the list. With the EV companies flying around yesterday, even SPAC was going. I think that this one's got a chance. If you're getting, when you get an IPO, usually there's no analyst coverage at all. Once a couple of them start to push it to their clients, you can start to really speed up on these things. And this is like a classic IPO setup where, like you have like a couple day pop after the IPO and then it just completely dumps. And then once the sellers are kind of exhausted, it starts to rebound back. It's kind of like if you see on RKT, right? Like you went from 17 to 27 and then it just retraced the whole thing. And then what happens is it starts to the sellers get exhausted and then they push it back. I think we'll have that on, we might have that on this LI. I'm adding that to the list. I think this one has a chance. It actually moves pretty well. So keep that on the list for today. That's actually, will be probably one of our top ones. Dun, 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 dun. Amgen stinks to trade. Kim again stinks. Grouch. Junk. I don't know if there's going to be any volume on this, but this graph does tend to move pretty well, but you're you're already, getting, it's already had a nice bounce the last couple days. It looks pretty good. Like there was a big push on it. This has got enough range. There's a big push on it, a couple yesterday. I think this one may have a chance too. That's not probably top of the list, but I think that we're kind of in that game. Oh man, this RKT's already fading. Cool. Now let's look at the downside. POR. It's not enough liquidity. Pass. Children's Place. Okay. Children's Place swings to loss in Q2. Revenue declines. You got a nice breakdown over here. Okay. I could get behind this. The SSR will be on it because it's down 13%. So you have to be a little careful with your entries. You won't be a short on the bid or do any kind of market order. You have to use some limit orders if you want to really shred it. But this one, let's add that to the list. That one looks good. SWBI. So this one's gapping down, but this one almost looks like an exhaustion gap at this point. You're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. So when you're down already 7, 8 days in a row, and then you get a little bit of an exhaustion gap, it's really tricky. Don't know if that one is going to be. I don't know if that one's going to be. That one's going to be a short. Probably this one is more of a bounce play than it is a short. Whoa. Hold on here. Hold on, little mama. Data, Nexus, post narrow, Q2 loss, higher revenue. All right, so this one's gapping down on earnings, but you're right into the sweet spot. I don't think that one is something. I don't think that one is something that is going to be an easy one. Hold on here. Watch this 30 spot. Ooh, RKT's already starting to kind of roll over here. If it loses 30, we may have to take this thing now. Hot damn. Yeah, you got a right sweet spot on this one. So already starting to cook. So you ran right into the VWAP here. Now you're starting to break under. I think this one's going to roll over today. Good. RKT is definitely top of the list for today. And VIR sucks to trade for the most part. All right, let's take a look. NVAX down 6%. So NVAX is another one. This was at 156. This was at 156 a couple days ago. Really hard to short this into the hole today. You got NVAX begins second part phase through, candidate, vaccine, Australia, blah, 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 blah. I actually think this one's probably a bounce candidate for today. Yeah. I think so. RKT's getting into that zone. If this thing loses 30, we'll probably have to short it a little bit early. I was hoping for a little spike, 31, 32 at the open, but you don't always get what you want. NVAX, watch this one. If you start to show a range at the open and it breaks to the upside, I actually think that we've got probably a room for maybe a $5, $10 easy squeeze on this one. It's getting really oversold here. You're at a 9 stochastics on this. I think you'll be able to bounce. Now let's take a look. So that was, these are all the earnings plays that are out. Oh, Farfetched had some news out. This one's been a hot little runner. I didn't see any news on it. It's been a hot runner all year. Probably due for, it was $5, right? Probably due for a little bit of a pull. Let's see. Anybody see any news on this one? If it loses this 20 SMA here, This one actually probably has got a chance to fade off just due to the fact this thing was $5 a handful of months ago in March. You know, if this thing starts to crack these levels, if you see here, it actually hasn't lost its 20 SMA this whole run. You know, this whole run, it's only broken under it for like a couple days. And if it loses it here, this thing could have a chance. It definitely could have a chance. Come on, baby. Sweet. Yeah, let's add that to the list. I think this thing, if it wants to bleed out, today's probably the day to do it. Add that. The caveat on this one, mark your level here. 20 SMAs at 2040. I'm only interested in really taking a short on this one if it breaks under. If it stays over it, you know, it ends up probably bouncing. You're right at that sweet spot. Now let's take a look at kind of just our general watch list here. There's a couple nice bounce plays that could work. You know, this space is back to the 200 SMA here. Yesterday you had a nice kind of trend day green candle to hold. I think this one's got a chance to kind of keep continuing up, maybe to like 1920. It's due for a little bit of a dead cat bounce. NIO's at a very, very key level here. This is a very important level. If you look at the hourly chart this is the hourly chart on NIO. You've got one test, two tests. We're running into the third test of that kind of 15 zone of resistance. If we start to cook over there, I think this one's got a chance to really get cooking. I like that look a lot. There's some solar stocks that are setting up here. There's ENPH, which is just resting on its 9. You know, usually when you get these kind of narrow range days that are like sitting over an MA, what'll happen is it'll just break out of nowhere. RKT pushing back down. Oh boy, we got a bleeder. FSLY. Now this one looks actually better than ENPH. It does not have the same liquidity on it. If it breaks this trend line here, frankly, this one looks like it could be a swing trade. Like you would put probably a stop under your 9 EMA, and you've got room to go on this one. You know, probably the old high from 2018 was at like 82. So you got $7 of upside. If you go back though on FSLR, it is actually, if it can break this 82, you're gonna get to levels. You're RKT. You're gonna get to levels where, you know, you haven't been in a long time. It's only a $7 billion company, so it's really considered, at least in this market, a mid cap. Like this one's got a chance. Woo, RKT. It's a beast. This thing's going to pull its rug today. 77 is your spot on this. This one could go right out of the gate. I'm talking like maybe in the first 5 to 15 minutes, this one could go. This Beaky was a nice IPO stock. It's actually got it's a little bit of a tricky trader, but when you get like good consolidations, it'll rip like 2-3 points out of nowhere. I think this one's setting up for really an imminent breakout. If tech decides to bounce today, Twilio's at a bounce spot. You got nice support here. This one's actually, this one's got a ton of support here. You're going back into this 240 zone. You got the 50 SMA, and you got price support that's been sitting there for quite some time. Watch and see how it starts to marinate around yesterday's lows. If it starts to hold there and build, I think you're going to get a nice bounce watch. And I mean, it may even turn into a little bit of a swing. ZM's resting right on its 9 EMA. So you had your breakout here. Anytime you have a breakout, the first test of the 9 EMA tends to work really, really well. That one looks pretty good. So Twilio, ZM, SQ's also sitting on the 9 EMA. Both of these got some room to bounce. You know, this thing was like 160 a couple days ago. Back down at 150s. I mean, you've got yourself definitely a little bit of room to bounce. And then FSLY's had a nice, easy kind of 2-day pullback. So you had this compression breakout. What a compression breakout is like when you get like a really tight range on a stock that's kind of basing out, you'll get like a big 1-day pop. Now you just kind of meandered back, into that old, support. You can see here, if you go on a 30-minute chart, this is your level. So it's come all the way back into that. Like that's got a solid chance to start to bounce today. And then I think probably our top watches for today, you've got FMCI. FMCI had, this was like a mega penis candle day. You had a $2 breakout into the close. You got a weak open on this. If this goes red to green today, I think we take this thing for a long. And then SPAC is opening down about 14 cents. You had a really big close on it. Pushed $1 into the last, in the last hour, it pushed $1. You're down about 14 cents at the open. If this goes red to green, and you start to take out 1340, give or take, like that one's going to have a chance. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. So you got SPACs. You got NIO. Shill's a daily trader at this point, but I'm leaning really more short than long on this one. If it had gapped up, we would have taken a short at the open, but because it's opening weak, we're going to have to kind of let it see how the trend sets on this one. But I think SPAC, FMCI, those are two SPACs they're not extended. They just started moving. We got these earnings plays out here. Alt is already a fader at this point. I'm only interested in Alt if it gets back over this way. RKT for fade. We got LI for a long. PLCE for a fade. And this Fitch for a fade, but only under the 20 SMA. Otherwise, we won't be doing it. Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Lemonade looks like a swing. Lemonade looks like a swing trade at this point. I had it on my list and I forgot to take it. I think any pulls on this one, this one looks like it's probably a little bit of a swing. You got a remount of 2 MAs over here. You had a really nice day on it yesterday with about a $6 range. That one is a beauty. If this one pulls a little bit today, I think, you can definitely play that one too. Good. Anybody got any stocks they want to look at? Let me see. Tiff, hold on, brother. Yeah, Tiff could have some good range retail, but should have some good range. I'd roll with that. What else? Yeah, rock and roll. And that's our list. I'm sticking to it. Man, yesterday was hot. Let's see if we can keep it going. Yeah, I got Groupon on my list. It is sitting at the 200 SMA. I wouldn't be surprised to see it break over, but it would still need a couple days to do it. I think for like a 1-dayer, we get ourselves probably a little bit of fade. Out of the casinos, MGM doesn't look that good, but the win looks pretty good. MGM to me looks just okay. Because actually it's remounting over the 200 SMA. These are more swing setups. I don't, casinos aren't the best day traders per se, but yesterday they did have good range. Usually when casinos have good range on one day, the next day they fart around. Kirk needs a lot of work. Like, it's going to have to come down. This thing was $1. It's going to have to come down a long way before it's ready probably for a long. It was getting shredded yesterday. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. That's the list. We're sticking to it. I'll be running some, I'll be running the scans and stuff on a different monitor during the day. So if there's something we missed, we'll make sure to catch it. Dun, 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 dun. OSTK getting smoked. Maybe get a little bounce on that. Shield. Man, RKT. I knew this fucker was going to be a fader. Alright, that's the list. I'm sticking to it. Let's go have some fun, guys.